Other big stories, the King of Pop has died.
Both now reporting that Michael Jackson has died.
I have to stop you for a second, AJ. CNN can now confirm from the LA coroner that Michael Jackson is dead.
June 25th, 2009, the day the world lost Michael Jackson. We all remember where we were when we heard the news. Grown-ups cried like babies. Fans fainted into screaming fits of agony. Tributes poured in from around the world. And even the biggest skeptics couldn't deny that while he was certainly flawed like every other human, the King of Pop had left an indelible mark on music history. And when the details of Michael's death were fully revealed 18 months later in the trial of Dr. Conrad Murray, the world was shocked, and MJ's fans were especially devastated. It felt to them like Murray had effectively murdered Michael Jackson.
And I just wanted to say I love him so much.
Then, exactly 10 years later, in 2019, while MJ's legacy was still inspiring generations, Oprah Winfrey was celebrating her 65th birthday on a $590 million giga yacht called the Rising Sun, owned by media mogul David Geffen. And what was her birthday gift? Jewelry, a priceless painting, a new beard for when she dresses up and goes to costume parties with her best friend Gayle King? Nope. For some reason, for her 65th birthday gift, Geffen pressed play on a 4-hour documentary by HBO called Leaving Neverland, a film where two grown men accusers told their stories that painted Michael Jackson as a monster who repeatedly molested them as children. This happened a full month before it was released to the public. And before the public even saw it, before anyone had a chance to question his claims, Oprah apparently had already been completely sold. She took the bait so hard that she made a whole follow-up show broadcast on her Oprah Winfrey Network and streaming on HBO called After Neverland, interviewing and co-signing the two accusers and the director of the documentary in front of an audience of abuse survivors, doubling down on the accusations without hesitation, without even a hint of skepticism. But here's where it gets weird and suspicious. Why did David Geffen, who has no known connection to the accusers, have a copy of the documentary before it was even released? Why was Oprah, of all people, shown this film in a private screening, only to then give it her public blessing with no reservations? After getting burned by the James Frey scandal, where she had to publicly humiliate herself and apologize on national television for backing a fake memoir and fabricated story. Why was she so eager to believe this one, without even questioning their stories, with no receipts? And let's not forget HBO, a network that was effectively breaking a non-disparagement clause they'd signed in a contract with Michael Jackson when he was alive by even making Leaving Neverland. Were they driven to take a huge legal risk by a moral goal to tell the truth about a predator? Or were they after something else? The motivations of the accusers are as obvious as why Anna Nicole Smith married her 89-year-old husband who already had cancer. But what about the director of the film, Dan Reed? After the film was released and he was being blasted worldwide by both MJ fans and journalists for only representing the accusers' stories, much of them based on recovered memories, why did Dan Reed not only double down defending it, but he just released a sequel called Leaving Neverland Part 2, Surviving Michael Jackson, and he's promised to release a Part 3 in the future. Now, full disclosure, that was the final straw for me. It was Dan Reed releasing Leaving Neverland Part 2 that was just going too damn far. I honestly thought he was just going to accept his L back in 2019 and move on. But when he decided to double back and make another one, that's what made me decide to finally reveal to you the complete secret story behind Leaving Neverland. Because let me tell you a little secret. It wasn't just about a couple of down-on-their-luck dudes trying to hit a lick off Michael Jackson's estate after he died. And for my white viewers less versed in African-American colloquialisms, hit a lick means to acquire significant or extraordinary monetary gain and or outrageous fortune, as Shakespeare might have put it. See, watching the behind-the-scenes backstory of Leaving Neverland and the way it all played out as a human behavior hacker, and based on my observations among the rich and powerful inside the entertainment business, here's what I can tell you. The actual hidden story of that so-called documentary was much bigger and much more sinister than just those two accusers. There were very large forces and unseen motivations at play. And when you follow the money, the patterns, the connections, and all the players behind Leaving Neverland, a very different picture than the one you may have been led to believe starts to emerge. It wasn't just about those two guys. The full picture points to a multi-person scheme and a massive group con that was played on the public for one specific reason: to make a ton of money, and maybe for one person at least, to get savage revenge on a dead man. The entire group was in on it. They monetized the murder of Michael Jackson. And when you see how it all unfolded, you'll understand why I can so confidently make this prediction about the just released sequel, Leaving Neverland Part 2. It's going nowhere. Almost no one will see it. Most people won't even know it exists. But to show you what I mean, let me introduce all the players to you and pull back the curtain completely to show you not just what they hid, but what they're still hiding. Allegedly. Now, there's no way we can start and skip over the central figure in all this, the one and only Michael Jackson. Look, whether you like this music or not, no sane person can argue this. Michael Jackson was undeniably a once-in-a-lifetime talent and a musical, dancing, and performing force of nature. We will never see another Michael Jackson. But let's keep it 100. The motherfucker had a few flaws. It can't be denied that the dude had some strange, some head-scratching, and some genuine "what the fuck are you doing, bro" moments. I mean, he routinely hung out with and developed full-blown slumber party friendships with children and young kids, both boys and girls, as a whole adult. And sadly, he kept having so much plastic surgery throughout his life that he turned his once handsome face into a combination of a strangely happy and mad alien, the William Shatner fright mask Michael Myers wore, and a white woman rumored to be Sandra Bullock's sister. I can't believe more of y'all never saw this striking resemblance. They literally look like twins. Make no mistake, Michael Jackson had a very broken and warped psychology, created mainly due to his childhood and early life that, believe me, I will fully deep dive into in another video. But whatever you thought about him, there are two facts that have to be acknowledged right out of the gate. Number one, Michael Jackson was charged criminally with molesting a 13-year-old boy in 2005. He stood trial and was found not guilty on all 4 counts by a jury of his peers. And keep in mind, this was after it was publicly known that he'd been accused of the same thing by another boy in 1993 and settled with the boy's family out of court. Now, the griminess and shadiness of that kid's father in that incident is a whole nother video. But the point is, it's not like the jury would have been hard-pressed to believe the accusations and convict Michael if there had been any evidence or even reasonable doubt that he was guilty. In fact, number two, the FBI confirmed that they secretly investigated Michael Jackson for 10 years between 1993 and 2005 and found no evidence of criminal conduct on his part. Those files were released publicly, so if you doubt that, go read them. But here's what I can tell you as someone schooled in psychology, both normal and abnormal. When it comes to PDF files, it is compulsive. It's a compulsion. You don't turn it on and off or pick and choose between eras of your life to be active. For someone with the money, power, and access to children that Michael Jackson had, if he was one, there would have likely been hundreds of children claiming to have been abused by him throughout his life, including among his nieces and nephews who were around him alone all the time. You can feel however you want. You can have whatever opinion you want. That's your right. But those are the facts. Now, with MJ out of the way, let's dive into the rest of the principal players in this crazy-ass circus. Okay, let's start with Wade Robson, the first accuser and the man at the center of Leaving Neverland, the star witness of HBO's shockumentary, and conveniently, the guy with the most to gain from flipping his story. Now, for those who don't know, Wade wasn't just some random kid Michael Jackson knew in passing. No, Wade Robson was a super fan who spent most of his childhood idolizing Michael Jackson, dressing like him, dancing like him, and thanks to Jackson, even breaking into the entertainment industry. He first met Michael in 1987 when he was just 5 years old after winning a dance contest in Australia. The prize? A trip to meet his idol. From there, Wade and his family were welcomed into Jackson's world, a world filled with opportunity, and man, did Wade take advantage of that opportunity. So by the time he was a teenager, Wade was thriving in the entertainment industry. He choreographed for Britney Spears, NSYNC, and was one of the hottest young dancers and creative minds in Hollywood. And he repeatedly credited Jackson for his success. And here's where it gets interesting. Wade was so unwaveringly loyal to Michael that when the 2005 child molestation trial came around, he voluntarily took the stand under oath and passionately defended Michael. Not just a little bit. He swore under penalty of perjury that nothing inappropriate had ever happened between them. He was firm, confident, and clear. And remember, at that time, he wasn't some impressionable little kid that could be under Michael's hypnotic spell of influence. He was 23 years old, living his own life completely apart from Michael Jackson. Fast forward to 2009. Michael Jackson dies, and Wade, now 27, is still singing his praises. He even goes on TV saying Michael Jackson was his mentor, his hero, and his quote, one of the greatest human beings he had ever known, unquote. Then, for some reason, things take a sharp turn. Let's talk about 2011, a pivotal year for Wade Robson. By this point, his career had hit a major rough patch, and he was catching L after L. He lost out on directing Step Up 4, one of the biggest dance films of the time. He was reportedly dealing with serious mental health struggles, and most importantly, he was desperate for money. And what did he do? He reached out to the Michael Jackson estate. Yes, the same estate that controls MJ's music, image, and licensing, to ask for a job. He wanted to direct a Michael Jackson-themed Cirque du Soleil show in Las Vegas. Now imagine that. A man who would later claim he was traumatized by Jackson's abuse was actively trying to get paid to celebrate his alleged abuser's legacy. But the estate, they turned him down and went with someone else to direct the show. And just 2 years later, in 2013, Wade Robson had a miraculous revelation. He suddenly remembered that he had been molested by Michael Jackson. Now, let that sink in for a minute. For over 20 years, Wade Robson had nothing but praise for Michael. But the moment his career stalled and the Jackson estate rejected giving him a job, he suddenly recovered memories of abuse, just in time to file a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against the estate. And guess what? The lawsuit was thrown out by the courts multiple times. And Wade's story kept changing. His timeline didn't match up. His claims contradicted his past statements. And when he was asked why he spent decades defending Michael, even after his death, his answer was, quote unquote, repressed memories. And this is the guy HBO threw their full support behind? Well, wait, there's more. Let's talk about the timing of Wade's accusations. 2005, he testifies under oath that Michael never touched him. 2009, Michael Jackson dies, and Wade continues publicly celebrating his legacy. 2011, Wade asked the Jackson estate for a job. He is denied. 2013, suddenly, Wade remembers being abused and files a lawsuit for millions. 2017, the lawsuit is thrown out. And then 2019, after the lawsuit has failed, he teams up with HBO for Leaving Neverland, where he finally gets the fame and money, I assume, he couldn't get from the Jackson estate. Now, is that coincidence or a calculated move by a man whose career was in free fall and saw an opportunity? Look, you can decide, but now ask yourself this. If Wade truly suffered horrific abuse at the hands of Michael Jackson, why was his first instinct after MJ's death to get a job from the very people controlling his legacy? Why did his accusations only come after he was denied that job? And why do his claims keep changing every time they're challenged? The logical answers aren't hard to see, but for some reason, HBO, Oprah, and the director Dan Reed, they didn't even ask a single one of those questions. But that's only half of the story in Leaving Neverland, and it ain't even the wildest. Let's move on to the second accuser in the film, Mr. James Safechuck. Yeah, let's talk about James Safechuck, Wade Robson's partner in accusation and the other star of Leaving Neverland. Because man, if you thought Wade's story was wild and full of red flags, wait till you hear James's. This cat's story has more holes in the back of Diddy's pants, real talk. Now, like Wade, in the beginning, James was a young fan of Michael Jackson who got close to him through the entertainment industry. His connection began when he starred alongside MJ in a 1987 Pepsi commercial at just 9 years old. From there, he and his family befriended Jackson, and he was invited to events, traveled with him occasionally, and according to his own previous statements, had a positive experience with the superstar. And just like Wade, James repeatedly defended Michael Jackson for decades and testified on Michael's behalf during the 1993 investigation. But then, out of nowhere, right after he heard Wade Robson had filed a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against Michael Jackson's estate in 2013, James suddenly, spontaneously, remembered he had been abused too and filed his own multi-million-dollar lawsuit in 2014. Again, just like Wade, the timing of his accusations was stupendously convenient. Now look, there's a bunch of problems and red flags in James' accusations that I went over in my 2019 video about the documentary in detail. But probably the biggest, most insane of holes in James Safechuck's Leaving Neverland story is his impossible claim that Michael Jackson molested him in Neverland's train station. In Leaving Neverland, James gives a tearful, graphic account of being abused in the Neverland train station when he was a child, implying that these incidents took place between 1988 and 1992. I mean, it's devastating. Whatever else happens, this man has a future in Tyler Perry made for BET movies, no cap. There was just one small problem. The fucking Neverland train station wasn't even fucking built until 1994. 2 years after James Safechuck said the abuse had already stopped. Yes, you heard that right. This isn't a minor inconsistency like getting a date slightly off or telling your husband you only bought one pair of shoes from Nordstrom because it was on 60% off sale when you really got 3 more pairs that you bought hidden in a Walmart bag in the trunk. This is a massive factual error that completely destroys the credibility of his story. The train station was a huge, well-documented construction project that was covered in news reports and aerial footage. It wasn't hidden, it wasn't obscure, and it simply didn't exist when James said he was abused inside it. And the absolutely bonkers part is, wait till you hear how the film's director Dan Reed responded to this major gaping problem of logic with James' story when I get to his chapter. Anyway, look at this bullshit James Safechuck is asking you to believe. So he just accidentally got the entire timeline of his own abuse wrong. He just misremembered an entire building that didn't exist. Okay, sure. Just like Diddy forgot how disgusted and remorseful he was for literally stomping Cassie in a public hotel hallway until the video got leaked of him doing it. This wasn't a small mistake. This was a core detail of his story. And if he got that wrong, what else was he misremembering? But wait, it gets wilder. In Leaving Neverland, James's mother, Stephanie Safechuck, gives an emotional interview claiming she was so relieved when Michael Jackson died in 2009 because she finally knew her son was safe. Sounds dramatic, right? A mother's love. Except, it's just one small issue. James didn't even claim to have remembered the abuse until 2013, 4 years after Michael's death. So, how exactly was his mother able to be relieved in 2009 when she supposedly didn't even know about the abuse yet? That's like saying you were relieved when the Titanic sank because you just always knew one day you'd have a bad experience on a cruise ship. It makes zero sense. And again, this isn't just speculation. It's simple, documented facts. James's lawsuit wasn't filed until 2014, years after Michael's death. His mother couldn't have known what hadn't even been alleged yet. So either James was lying, or his mother just accidentally invented a whole new timeline like some shit from Avengers Endgame. Either way, somebody ain't telling the truth. Or as a good old country friend of mine used to always say, that dog won't hunt. Like, what was HBO even thinking to release this? I mean, did they even watch this thing and listen to what people were saying during the editing? Who the hell did the fact checking on it? Fox News? So what other conclusion can we logically come to other than Safechuck and Robson had some, financial incentives? Remember, just like Wade Robson, James Safechuck filed a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against the Jackson estate in 2014, right after Wade's case was filed. And just like Wade's case, James' lawsuit was thrown out in court in 2017. And when the courts dismissed their cases, what did they do? Did they move on with their lives? Did they seek therapy? Did they, try to get on some reality TV show and lie and backstab people for fame and fortune like every other respectable grifter? No. They teamed up with HBO to make a high-profile, highly profitable documentary instead. And by the way, if you're wondering how much they got paid, well, good luck finding that out, because HBO and Dan Reed have been suspiciously quiet and tight-lipped about whether these two men were financially compensated for appearing in Leaving Neverland. Now, I wonder why they wouldn't want to say. Let's be real, we know the answer. Do you really think Wade Robson and James Safechuck just did this out of the goodness of their hearts? Out of some newfound moral duty to warn the world about Michael Jackson? Because if that were true, why wouldn't they have come forward in 2005 when Michael Jackson was actually on trial? When their testimony actually would have mattered and could have helped deliver justice for another boy who claimed he was abused. That trial didn't spark their quote-unquote repressed memories of abuse. Wouldn't they have wanted to stop Michael from possibly doing to other children what they say he'd done to them? Instead, they waited years until Jackson was dead and couldn't defend himself before suddenly making these accusations. And just like clockwork, their memories of abuse surfaced only after their careers had dried up. Michael was dead, and they saw the opportunity for a big payday. Now look, I'm not saying Wade Robson and James Safechuck are lying, because I wasn't there. I'm just saying that facts, logic, reason, and evidence don't point to them telling the truth. But again, what most people missed, and the public never knew, is this whole thing was much bigger than just them trying to get a bag. We haven't even talked about the real power players behind this thing yet. Because when you really start digging into the connections and the people behind this documentary, the story gets even darker. Buckle up. Let's talk about the Big O.